All right, family. Peace and blessings. Many of you guys have tuned in over the years. It's crazy to even say years, plural, into this channel, into these teachings. And many of you guys, have been drawn here all naturally. I always say I've never ran ads. Everything that has led us to this point has all been simply from the energy that we've emitted and given out on a day-to-day basis. And it's all come full circle. And so, I appreciate over the years all of the people that have tuned into the channel and that have been supporting the movement and all that we've been doing. And so, with that being said, today I'm going to provide some value into how you guys can get paid off of having quote unquote bad credit. So, many of you guys were thought and told that from you having bad credit, you were going to have to wait the 7 years. Well, we're going to debunk that today. How many of you guys were told that you may not be able to get it removed other than, maybe taking them to court, or, you may not be able to get it removed once again until that 7 year time frame. And a lot of you guys thought that we were in that, space and, thought that it took that long. Well, with my teachings, you guys have seen, we've debunked that myth time and time again. You guys have seen people that have came here for free on these exact same stream styles as you guys are on currently right now watching. Shout out my Theo, Sammy tuned in always. Come on, man, let's get the money bag, yo. And so I say this, to say that I'm still going to be providing these teachings for the masses in terms of consumer law, helping you guys be able to go out and get the bag in in the consumer law space so that you guys can therefore get funding, leveraging the personal credit and the business credit. We're going to be setting up with Billionaires Club businesses. So we're going to be helping you guys set up the LLCs, helping you guys set up the EIN number, acquire Dun and Bradstreet number to building out the business credit. As we're building out the business credit, we're going to help you guys get to a point where you guys can obtain up to $75,000 to $150,000 in funding, leveraging your personal and business funding. From there, that's where we can look to transition into the real estate investments that you guys have seen us teaching and pouring tons of value got into you guys over the past couple months and really this whole year going forward. You guys have seen that there's been a huge shift in just overall my teachings and my whole way of operating. I used to come here every day and teach live on YouTube consumer law and give you guys insight into these teachings. I'd be live just driving like, yo, I got to go live right now. And, or I'm on a walk, yo, I got to go live right now. Or, I'm sitting at a coffee shop. Let me go live. I would go live doing everything, just looking to over deliver and provide you guys the teachings and the insight into consumer law. Well, I'm going to show you guys two exact ways as how you guys yourself can go out and be able to, get removals of these accounts, yes, off your guys' report. And the biggest thing that I want you guys to do is and to understand is that it's all about the story. All right, and the story being, I'm going to go ahead and read a letter from one of my business partners that's also in the credit space. He's very well known himself, and I'm going to read to you guys one of his letters that he sent out that has helped him discharge up to 100K recently over the past couple months. And this is all from him and his teachings, and it's very simple. Like with these types of letters, and what I'm going to show you guys, it's all about explaining your story. But I'm going to show you guys two ways and two routes that you guys can go to getting paid. Where to go get paid specifically, because a lot of people are like, yo, I don't know where to get paid. I don't know where to get the bag. Well, we got to go to, where and whom is regulating these companies. Because if we look and follow the FTC, we'll see that they're constantly coming after companies and filing lawsuits against companies. And, a lot of these companies are companies that you guys have engaged in and that, and that you guys yourself have been affected from their exact teeth or their exact, what they're being sued for specifically. Shout out Theo, man. Love you. I appreciate your support. Truly, you always tuning in, and I appreciate it. What I miss, Sam. Sam, I am. Sam. Okay, I am. I will need to go watch these old lives. Yes, the old lives are definitely key. I've got tons of value within all of the old lives in terms of these teachings. And so let's go into what I wanted to share with you guys today and how you guys can get paid with these two. Let me go ahead and change really quick something up really. 1 second. Okay. So let's dive into it, family. I know that all of you guys are here and looking to get value to help you guys get out of the situation that many of you guys may be in. And so, where I want to take you guys first and foremost is yes to the CFPB, but also what we're going to use within the CFPB to help us be able to get the bag. So we've got to know what title we're in overall. So for my new people, I love to break it down. We're in commerce and trade. This is Title 15. So as I mentioned, you guys are going to really get the insight. I mentioned earlier that on LinkedIn as well too that you will lend to many nations, but you will borrow from none. The year of canceling debts, many of us have been told that we've got to wait 7 years. At the end of 7 years, you must cancel debts to remove these debts. This is how it is to be done. Every creditor shall cancel any debt, any loan they have made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payment from anyone among their own people, because the Lord's time for canceling debts has been proclaimed. Check this part out. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. Where's the part I want to show you guys? And you will lend to many nations, but you will borrow from none. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're never the borrower, we're always the lender. 7 years from, why is it that we've been taught, and why is there a misconception that we must wait 7 years to get anything removed from our consumer report? Well, in Deuteronomy 15, the book of Numbers, the year of canceling debts, it states that you will lend to many. We're never the borrower. We're never indebted. We're never the debtor. We are always the creditor, the creator. And we got to remember what a creditor is. A creditor creates. Title 15. So we just went into Deuteronomy 15, the year for canceling debts. Sure. Start reading some more. Let's hope that my laptop can, pick up some speed. Let me try to plug it in. We're like frozen right now. I don't know about on your guys' end, but on my end, I am frozen. This laptop is done. Drop in the chat box while we're waiting for the laptop something that you guys are grateful for. I always say gratitude is the beginning of all of life's comings, meaning all that you guys are in desire of, all that you guys seek also seeks you. But in order to receive it, one must be in a state of gratitude. See, Albert Einstein quoted that specific line that gratitude is the beginning of life's comings. So therefore, be in a state of gratitude every single day. I always state that my attitude, my everyday attitude, is that of gratitude. I express my gratitude before every call, before every meal, before each day, the start of each day, the end of each day, everything that I do before every interaction. What is it that you guys are grateful for? Ask your loved ones, what are you grateful for? Ask yourself in the mirror, what is it that you're grateful for? Because in order to attract more, you must be in a state of gratitude. All right, so we loaded up a little bit. We got Commerce and Trade, Title 15. So now we're going to come down here to Title or Chapter 41, which is the Consumer Credit Protection Act. There's nowhere that mention it that has a subchapter or a chapter on the protection of debt. And that's because there is no debt. The only thing that there is credit, right? And as creditors, we create, right? We create this line of credit, which ultimately, therefore, then does create debt. But there's nothing to protect in terms of debt because all that's being created and really moved around is just credit, and all of that credit is coming from who these banks are soliciting to. If we think back to when we're 18 years old, who are the banks giving pre-approvals to when there's never been any you know type of line of credit on one of these individuals' reports? 18-year-olds that just turned 18 years old are being approved for credit cards, and it's because they simply just want their information. They want access to this account where anytime their credit card is being used, and if we're well aware of the definitions within truth in lending, we will understand what a credit card is and that anytime that it's used, a consumer credit transaction has arisen. And anytime there's a consumer credit transaction, there's something called a finance charge. And you all can look that up into 15 USC 1605, which this is all within the Truth in Lending Act. Truth in Lending was passed in 1968, and if we look up the congressional findings as to why it was passed, Congress found that economic stabilization would be enhanced and that the competition among the various financial institutions and other firms engaged in the extension of consumer credit would be strengthened by the informed use of credit. The informed use of credit results from an awareness of the cost thereof by consumers. It is the purpose of this subchapter to assure meaningful disclosure. So meaningful disclosure. So as they're going through the whole, transaction and disclosure of these terms with you guys, and that's what we're going to break down today. And I'm going to show you guys how. And I wanted to show you guys this specifically because within their own contract, this is how we get the bag. A lot of you guys are like, how are we getting paid? Like, how they breached their own contract from the beginning, and with you guys being able to go and break down these contracts and understand what's within these contracts, now you guys could handle yourself more accordingly and know what steps to take because they tell you what steps to take within the contract if you do disagree on anything with the credit account at all, from the reporting to, anything to do with that credit line, as a whole. So that's 15 USC 1601. This is Truth in Lending. I'd advise you guys all start always at the congressional findings, of any subchapter. And then let's continue going through chapter 41. I'm going to give you guys three of the top subchapters. I always say these are the big three subchapters that you guys must know. This is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And this shows you guys how the whole banking system is dependent upon fairness and accuracy. And without fairness and without accuracy, there is no banking system. And with that being said, with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and all of the other 330 consumer report agencies, they must report fair and accurate. And the thing with fairness and the thing with accuracy is nobody but you, the consumer, can truly define what's fair and what's accurate because only you were truly present through, the agreement and what the disclosure. And what I want you guys to understand, a lot of times there's not even a disclosure because it's just done maybe online through an online application, and then they'll send you over some paperwork, or you'll maybe get the paperwork via some e-docs, So what I want you guys to understand, and that's why the FCRA is a statement of purpose rather than a declaration of purpose, because Congress wants you to go out and they want you to be the agent to go out and find findings of specific violations as to how they're not being fair and how they're not being accurate. And that's why a lot of times by you guys simply just telling your story alone, you guys can get things removed off your guys' account. And like I mentioned, I'm gonna go through one of my partner's letters, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys, how you guys can make that happen. So where I want you guys to come is here at the CFPB, right? The CFPB is gonna be your guys' best friend when it comes to. Let me see. Let me see if I can log into my old account. Let's see. All right, here we go. So I can just show you guys firsthand some of the accounts that we've been able to go ahead and not only get deletions from, but get remedy from as well too. Sheesh, I gotta go through the whole process. So as you guys can see, tons with Wells Fargo, tons with Wells Fargo, and with Wells Fargo, after the things with Wells Fargo, I'm like, all right, now we've got all of this. Let's go to arbitration, which is what I'm going to show you guys next as to where to also go get the bag as well too. If you guys can't get the bag through here, because there's going to be times where they may not, budge, and they may not communicate, or they may not properly, want to comply, such and such, like right here, IC system. Right, this is something that I had sent. I'll go ahead and read my initial response. I'm like, what did you say? Like, I want to get the actual the meat and the gritty of the information and the insight into your writings and your teachings. Right? How many of y'all drop a 333 in the chat box if y'all want to see insight into how I've been able to over the years off of my own reports remove things off of my reports as well too. If y'all would love to see that, drop some 333s in the chat box. Also, drop what city y'all are tuning in from. What city is everybody tuning in from? This is gonna help you guys remove any account from a mortgage, from an auto loan, from a credit card, from student loans, from you name it, from your consumer report, because all of this is the same. One line of credit is the same, from one account to another account. It's all within the FCRA. I'm gonna show you guys this as well too. Who wants to see? Drop the word billions in the chat box if y'all want to see something that many of you guys probably weren't aware of, prior to this call. Drop a one in the chat box. Who would like to see something that you guys were unaware of? I'm positive prior to this call. All right. We got Covington, Washington. Very good informational review. Yes, this is great. I'm really going to give you guys the overview as to and sum it all up as to exactly what you guys need to do step by step to helping you guys go out and get any account removed, be able to remove auto loans left and right. These auto loans are probably some of the most fraudulent, contracts out there. Like I mentioned, the finance charge. I want you all to go look into 15 USC 1605, right? We've been able to discharge $1 million in debt with these teachings. That goes with auto loans, that goes with repossessions, that goes with student loans, that goes with credit card debt and charged off accounts. that goes with evictions. We've been able to remove just about every account that you guys could think of. And so all of it's been done with this exact same teachings that I'm going to give to you guys today. I'm going to give you guys the exact insight as to how I've done it with debt collected myself on my own reports, and if it didn't work, I'm going to show you guys the steps to take, because there may be times where, okay, with this auto loan, they're being a little bit more difficult. So I may have to take the next steps as we cannot come to an agreement. So within their own agreement, that it states the contractual agreement, it states, well, if there's no agreement, there's steps to be taken. And so I'm going to give you guys the steps for such. And that within those steps, that you guys will be able to get the remedy. And I'm going to show you guys exactly as to why. And if you guys are looking for such, let's go ahead and get the likes up on this video first and foremost. And let's go ahead and express your gratitude. What's one thing that you guys are all grateful for today? And while I'm waiting for the gratitude, I'm going to show you guys the one thing from everybody that commented the word billions that I know 99% of you guys didn't know prior to this. And I mentioned it, but I know it probably went over some of your guys' head, or you guys were maybe thinking to yourself, like, huh, what do you mean over 330 consumer report agencies? And so when it comes to your guys' life, it's not just Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and operating in the public as a consumer, and all of these teachings within the Truth in Lending Act, within the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So the banking system being dependent upon fairness and accuracy of credit reporting. This also pertains to, and this one specifically within the FCRA, to all of these other consumer reporting agencies as well. So just like all these other reporting agencies, or just like Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, how you can go get a free report from them, you can also get a free report from all of these other consumer reporting agencies, and you can pull your report. And once you pull it, you guys want to therefore then look for any violations, anything that's inaccurate or anything that's unfair. And a lot of times for employment, many people are being denied employment because of what's being reported on your guys' background. Well, maybe you guys are being denied, from, or have high insurance rates. Well, that can be maybe because of some re- reporting through insurance with LexisNexis, or maybe you guys have a bankruptcy. Experian Rent Bureau. Maybe you guys are being denied rent. Maybe you guys need Rent Grow and to pull your Rent Grow report or your AmRent report. There's so many other reporting agencies that are reporting your guys' information in regards to different things. And so with the information and the teachings that I teach and I have been teaching over the years, you guys can come here and be able to get all of these, quote unquote alleged debts. And a debt, remember, we got to understand the definitions, right? And so there's a definition within each subchapter. Here's the third part and the third section within the big three. And this is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. I'm going to skip over the congressional findings, and I'm going to take you guys here to the definition section, where we look into the term debt and the definition of debt, because many people are unaware of the true definition of debt just as a whole. And I want to show you guys here how really debt is an illusion. It states that it means any obligation. So let's think about some things that we've been obligated to do into our lifetime, and some things that they've made feel obligated, such as going to school. Well, when we go to school, they're going to need our social security card. They're going to need our credit card to go ahead and register us into the schooling system. Well, they're getting credited for such. A consumer credit transaction has taken place, and there is a finance charge that did take place as well too with such. That's why my little brother, he's homeschooled now. And as he's homeschooled, my mother's able to get paid thousands of dollars for homeschooling him, because ultimately it's coming from that credit card account. And you all can look into the definition of the credit card account that I'm referring to within 15 USC 1602, which is within truth and lending and the definitions of such. So many people think, debt is an obligation. Well, we haven't fully been, educated as to the second part of such, where it states or. I always say the word or is probably the most powerful word in the English language, because it's showing you and giving you the ability to choose. Anytime we have the ability to choose, that's freedom, I've always said. alleged obligation of a consumer to pay money arising out of a transaction in which money, property, insurance, or service, which are the subject transaction, are primarily for personal, family, or household purpose, whether or not such obligation has been reduced to judgment. Right. So we all got to understand, how to go through and, actually break these terms down. We got to know the true definition of assessment because many of us think that it's simply just an obligation. Does an allegation mean that it's factual? Does an allegation mean that you're guilty? No, it's an allegation. Somebody can allegedly, TMZ allegedly states that people do so many different things, but that doesn't mean that it's such. And so you got to come in the court of law with facts. And so that's why us sending out CFPB complaints, us sending out any other types of complaints is simply showing these companies, that we're well aware of our rights and we're well aware of being able to exercise them. And so let me take you guys here back to the complaint that I had sent off to be able to get this collection account removed from my consumer report. And you guys can use this also to get a repossession removed, to get an auto loan removed. If this aligns with what it is that you guys personally have gone through, then you too yourself can be able to use such to get it removed. I'm writing regarding the inaccurate reporting of the following accounts on my consumer report. I specialize in helping clients that have been sued by debt collectors. So if you feel that you've been sued yourself by a debt collector and you don't know what steps to take, make sure to reach out to us. The only way to help, and get locked in with us and our teachings is to lock in with our personal community and our Billionaires Club community, which is an investment and it's an investment into you, locking in and taking that next step into your education. And you really looking to master knowing oneself, and with knowing oneself that comes knowing about consumer law to be able to discharge these debts and put these corporations back in the place that they belong, which is little to no power, because that's what they hold. So let's get into this letter. I am writing regarding the inaccurate reporting. Notice how I mentioned inaccuracy right away of the following accounts on my consumer report, which constitute violation of the FCRA, 15 USC 681, FDCPA, and the Privacy Protection Act, the Gramm-Leach-Bailey Act, 15 USC 16 or 6801 and 6802. This letter serves as both a formal dispute and a demand for the correction of these inaccuracies. Account in dispute, IC system collection, original creditor, AT&T Mobility. So how many of you guys have had like a phone bill on your report? So I had something with AT&T, for the longest as of December 2024. Discrepancies, repeated reporting the same delinquency months and lack of the delinquency date documentation, failure to ensure accuracy under the FCRA as outlined in the congressional findings of the FCRA, 15 U.S.C. 1681A. Consumers are entitled to accurate and fair credit reporting. Your reporting of duplicative, inconsistent, and inaccurate information validates 1681E and 1681S2, which require furnishers to ensure the accuracy of the information reported to consumer reporting agencies. Invasion of privacy under 15 U.S.C. 6801 and 6802. Financial institutions are required to protect consumers' non-public personal information. The inaccurate reporting of these accounts has unlawfully invaded my privacy by dismantling incorrect financial details without proper verification of or safeguards. Harassment and unlawful collection practices under the FDCP as a victim of sex trafficking. This is when I was using a lot of the sex trafficking methods to get things removed. I don't recommend it because it's real big on the identity theft, and there's just more, forms of, document verification in regards to such when you're throwing out those claims, and so you want to be able to back every claim. And so this was something that I had seen that was pretty hot at the time, and this was helping me get a lot of deletion. So we ran with it, and it is within the FCRA as well. But I don't really like to use such anymore. So I'll go over the points where I really do. So inaccuracy, so using those 681, and then also cease and desist. I hereby demand an immediate cessation of all communications regarding these accounts under 1692 CC. This includes the reporting of these accounts on my consumer report. You're authorized to communicate solely through mail or the CFPB portal. Immediate correction of the reporting errors, um, remove all inaccurate entries, including duplicated delinquency months, repeated charge-offs, and erroneous balances. Provide full documentation, subtaining your claims, including the first delinquency date, last payment, and a date, and a detailed payment history. And then I had them validate the debt as well too. And from that, their response was the account they ceased the communication on this account as requested, and AT&T Mobility recalled the account. IC sent a deletion request to the report agencies, and just like that, we were able to get it removed. Sincerely, Carol. So that was just one, time. So this is just showing you guys that yes, it works. It doesn't matter whether it's a debt collector. These exact same things go for. Many times people do get sued by debt collectors for those exact same situations. And so, with you guys knowing this information and these teachings, and I'm going to show you guys where you guys can even get further knowledge and insight. And right now, I'm even running a promo with our university where you guys can even get it locked in for only $50. Or you guys can come into our university, which is typically $97 a month, which is about $1,200 a year. You guys can come in and be able to get access to our university, where within the university, you guys are able to get access to weekly calls and also our recorded teachings that I've been teaching over the years, and I've got my partners where they've got some value in recordings and modules within the university as well too, in terms of crypto. We're adding some things for taxes. We're adding some things for investments as well. And so I thank you guys all for those that have been tuning. We've got over 120 members right now actively within the university that are learning on a day-to-day basis. We've got a community within there, and they're able to get the recordings. Some of them just strictly use the recordings in the university and the teachings, and they're good with that. And maybe they'll use the Discord when need be and reach out and ask them questions. Other people will come in and utilize such and the community. Some people will come in and strictly just leverage the community. And so it's a mix of all three. I love all three, and I'm for all three. Whatever suits you guys and whatever is best for you guys. Ultimately, it's only $50. We are running the half off. I will probably run this sale until the rest of the year, because we are going through a rebrand as such with the university. I mentioned some things with the collaboration of the business partner of mine on the multifamily side, and so we'll see where the future takes us. But we are re-collaborating it, or relaunching it, excuse me, and we're removing a lot and adding a lot. And so you guys will see just a lot of change within it. And so throughout the change, I am just ultimately offering for the next 2 months, just a discounted rate for the YBC University to be able to get inside and more access to these teachings. And from that, you guys also get access to our AI debt terminator, which I'm going to show you guys here right now as well too, which is going to lead us into our next point of what are the exact steps. What are the steps that I need to take with YBC's administrative process? So many people are unaware of the steps. What do I take? I don't know where to start. Well, that's why we're here on today's call. When do I send off the CFPB complaint? And sending off the CFPB complaint is very simple as well too. I don't want any of you guys to overcomplicate it. It's very, 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 very simple. I want y'all to write in the comments. Very simple, very simple, very simple. All right, write in the comments. Very simple. It's very, very simple. All right. So I lost the names of these accounts. I wanted to show you guys more, but I guess we can't pull up those other ones. All right. So with the CFPB, you guys can literally come here. Let's see. And you guys can press start a new complaint. Fill out your personal information. It'll ask you about the business and their information, and then it'll ask you for the description of what took place. With the description, this is what we're going to use to help us do such. So here's our process. We got to print out the reports. So I showed you guys the list of the 300 consumer report agencies. You guys can request it from there. You guys can request from the big three consumer report agencies here at annualcreditreport.com for free, or you guys can simply call them as well too, or you guys can fill out an online form from them and mail that in as well. Ultimately, get the reports. Then we want to identify the violations. Well, what violations? We want to look through those big three subchapters that I went through and showed you guys. We're going through an overview. Now you guys are seeing my teachings, kind of make sense. My teachings, there's a method to the madness. I've been going through the information because, the way as such, because, there's a process, there's a method to my madness. Next is creating an affidavit of truth. We've gone through, I believe, on last week's call, the affidavit of truth and creating such. Today, we're going over is drafting up the CFPB complaint and the FTC complaints. So, what did the CFPB complaints look like? I showed you guys such. Also, the GBT here, the AI Debt Terminator, will help you guys draft up a CFPB complaint and give you guys kind of an outlook of what one initial one should look like. If it's for, let's say, an auto loan. Hence the name of this title of this video. So I'll help you guys with such and help you guys on that end. Next is preparing the notice of dispute, and then we want to mail off the package with this to the CRAs and to any debt collectors or creditors with the affidavit, the notice of disputes, the CFPB complaints, and the consumer reports as well too. And then we want to wait 30 to 45 days. Well, if we don't get, a response, we can apply for more accounts. We'll get denied. If we get denied, that's damages that have been done. If you guys got any doctors that you guys are in contact with, maybe you guys have some anxiety going on from this. Maybe you guys go see a doctor. Maybe you guys go get an anxiety note from a doctor. If you guys are having some marriage problems and you guys have had to go see a therapist because of the debt that you guys are in, well, maybe you guys get a note for that as well too. And you guys can show the damages that have been done, and prove the damages that have been done. When you guys get into a car accident, what is the first thing that attorney telling you to do? Go to the chiropractor, go to the doctor to get a doctor's note or an MRI or an X-ray, typically an X-ray right off the bat, of what it is that's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong on the X-ray. Nothing's probably even wrong on the MRI, but maybe you got a knot and, the doctor can diagnose such. And so the anxiety can be one thing as well too that has been, damaged from such. From there, we'll go through arbitration and we'll follow arbitration. We'll put on our big boy pants. I want y'all to comment in the chat box, big boy or big girl pants, because we're about to put them on in step 9 and we're about to apply our rights that we have and what's stated within their agreements in the contract. And we're going to file arbitration because if we cannot come to an agreement, it states very clearly in the contract, well, let's go through arbitration. And this is oftentimes where we get these debt collectors that are suing consumers, because why are you suing them when it states within the agreement with the original creditor that if there's any disagreement or any claim that we ought to take it through arbitration, but yet they're going through litigation attempting to collect this debt. So that's where we get them where we want them. Let me know if that makes sense. If that makes sense, drop the word billions. Drop the word billions in the comment section. I see we've got a pretty interactive, air in my lungs. Grateful for the air in your lungs. Let's take a deep breath. Pull it in. Let it go. Pull it in. Let it go. I love that. Love Coco. Tara. Laude in my brain. Laude. I'm not sure what laude is. Good reports should be praiseworthy. COVID was a good example of the system saying we're obligated to shelter in the place. 1,000%. Seeing you in alignment with your true purpose is a beautiful thing. And seeing anybody in alignment with their true purpose is such. And so every day I look to just go out and provide value, because I know that providing value, it's a frequency. In the beginning was the word. And me, anytime I speak, I'm very intentional as I do and when I do speak. And so I'm speaking to heal, I'm speaking to connect, and ultimately to unite, the masses. I've got connections all around the world. That's why it's been a blessing to step into the multifamily space where we're operating a fund, helping individuals invest and ultimately help escape this tax game as well too. A lot of people are unaware of the tax breaks that real estate offers, and so with our CPA, we've been able to come up with a game plan and a strategic game plan that we have specifically with our athletes as their W-2 employees. So I know many of you guys are W-2 employees, but they're high paid, high net worth W-2 employees, million dollar slaves, $1 million W-2s, and with that, we come up with a great tax loophole and scapegoat to helping them in the real estate space. And many of you guys are also W-2s and 1099s, and are looking for different tax way, loopholes and strategies. And so, I'm grateful to have my partner who's in the CP, who's a CPA and in the tax space, be able to help us, on that end. Very simple, very simple, very simple. Capital One don't have arbitration. Yes, so that's where at times we'll have to go through litigation. Big boy pants, big girl pants. Let's do it. Billions. Disagreements handled with arbitration is like arbiter from Halo. Billions unstoppable. Billions. Let's do it. So there's a form. I want you all to look into. Let's see. Okay, well, this is something as well too that we can look at. So this is the hourly rate, that they're paying on their end. The notice of the compensation arrangements. So I'm going through arbitration right now, personally with Wells Fargo from a college credit card, and they've been very what they're paying already and what they've had to pay in the invoice is more than the debt that they're even coming after. And so that's why as well too, in terms of business, it just doesn't even make sense for them to go through arbitration when oftentimes the debt that they're coming after isn't even worth what they're going to have to pay in arbitration. And then from there, there's also damages and remedy that people are coming after that are aware of such, and the civil liability, you know to hold these companies up, within each one of these sub chapters that I gave to you guys, there's a civil liability section, meaning a section where you guys can go and get paid out up to $1,000 per each violation within that specific subchapter. So let's go here now to adr.org. Before we come here, let me go ahead and see if I can find that sheet. So let's see. Can y'all see this? One second. All right, here we go. Here we go. Y'all ready? So this is the form that y'all got to fill out. So this is it. This is how simple arbitration is. This is why I personally love arbitration. This is the form that you guys are filling out when you guys are filing arbitration. So it'll ask you which party is sending the filing document. Well, of course, it's you, the consumer. Briefly explain the dispute. Very brief, very simple. You guys could maybe put one consumer law code. You really don't even have to put any, but briefly explain the dispute. Specify the amount of the money in dispute, if any. What are they coming after for allegedly? State any other relief you are seeking. Well, arbitration costs, and if you guys do have an attorney, you guys can have them cover attorney fees as well. I don't recommend an attorney. I do recommend each one of you guys being able to, speak for oneself and represent yourself. Right? Then you guys can identify the request city of the state for the hearing if an in-person hearing is held. Then you'll put your consumer's information, your information, then you'll put the business's information. Simple as that. You guys can therefore also mail it, or you guys can do it online and click the file or the fast file section here at adr.org, which is where I had showed you guys a little bit briefly, but I'm going to take you guys back to the window and back to the website. So if we come here, we can click file a case, and it's as simple as file a case. I know they even have an online portal that's even made it more simple, and they just updated the website to make it that much more simple as well too. But we'll already have the affidavit, created because that was step 2 or step 3 within our administrative process. And you guys can also get an affidavit or anything notarized with your guys' bank, specifically like a regional bank or a credit union, and you guys can go get it notarized from there for free. And then you guys can use that affidavit in your guys' case as well too. That's definitely something that you guys will want to use. You guys want to file a case, we'll come here to file a case. Would you like to file online? I want to use the online filing form, or I want to upload my filing form, which is the form that I just showed you guys. And you guys can do either one. And from there, it's very simple. Really the main thing is just gathering up your information and all of your CFPB complaints. So we've got the CFPB consumer complaints, we've got the SEC consumer complaints, and they're all the same formats: personal information, the business's information, and the description of what took place. We've got the attorney general of whatever. So for me, it's the Arizona attorney general consumer complaint. File a consumer complaint. You guys can file an FTC.gov report. Or you guys can file an FDIC consumer complaint. And so all of these are very simple. All of these are able to be done, and so I challenge you guys to get in tune with, the AI. And so let me show you guys this. I am looking to draft up an initial dispute with an auto loan contract of mine that they've breached the contract, as there's been many claims and disagreements, and they have yet to initiate arbitration. Furthermore, there's a breach in the contract, as there was many forms of deception and many things that they're required to do within truth and lending that they did not disclose. Furthermore, they have repossessed my vehicle and auctioned it off. From the auctioning, that's also further fraud, as they've sold my property. And it even states such because when they sell it, they state if they sell the vehicle for more than what I owe, then therefore they will be paying me. This is fraud at its highest. I have all the evidence to show such. From this, it's affected my livelihood. I cease and desist all mediums of communication. They have reached out to me in attempts to collect this debt via phone calls, which has been very inconvenient to me in my time within 15 USC 1692C. And I demand immediate cease and removal of this account from my consumer report, create me a CFPB consumer complaint so that I can send this for an auto loan and removal of this auto loan off my credit report. So this is something y'all could do if y'all, for all my people, to help them get their auto loans removed off their reports. And ultimately, that's the way that I do recommend, in terms of getting that free car, is helping people with the removal of the account once they've got the vehicle in possession. Breach of contract, because from there, there's really the violations are within the disclosures and the deception of the disclosure, and things that they're meant to go over with you, which they don't. And from such, you guys can, void the contract. Breach of contract and failure to initiate arbitration, violations of truth in lending. And so all of you guys can go through and copy and use this exact same letter. I'll share this in our Discord. So if you guys are not in our Discord, this is the time and the sign to push you guys to get into our free, yes, I said free community. So I'll go ahead and read through a couple of it. The original auto loan agreement contained a binding arbitration clause, which I have invoked in writing due to ongoing disputes and claims regarding the contract's validity and practices. However, the creditor has failed to honor the arbitration clause, constituting a material breach of contract. This has resulted in unresolved claims remaining in limbo without due process. The creditor failed to make accurate disclosures required by federal law under truth in lending. The total cost of credit was misrepresented, key loan terms, no clear explanation of the consumer's right under the contract. You guys can insert more. This is more of a template and an overview and kind of how you guys want to look to attack them. Ultimately overall. My vehicle was illegally repossessed and auctioned off despite the unresolved dispute and arbitration demand. The creditor sold the account or the vehicle and claimed that if proceeds exceed the debt, I would receive a refund. This never occurred. No documentation was provided showing sale details or proof that the amount owed remained post-sale. This constitutes fraud, unjust enrichment, and a violation of state UCC and federal consumer laws. Continued harassment and collection attempts. I've sent a cease and desist communication clearly stating that I dispute this alleged debt and demand no further contact. Despite this, the company continues to call and harass me regarding the payment infringing upon my rights within the FDCPA. And so it's more of an outlook as to how I would approach it, cease and desist, or maybe even insert within their debt validation, and just requesting, certain things that that they cannot provide. Do you have a contract with these debt collectors? Did these financial institutions or did these, auto loan companies go over these things that they're obligated, to disclose to you guys within truth in lending? If not, the contract is void. So any questions, family? So these are the ways: file CFPB complaints. And outside of CFPB complaints, I want you guys to get familiar with arbitration. This is how you guys are going to get you guys' free anything, because everything in life is free. Debt is an illusion. You are the creditor. We credit every single one of these corporations, and what I'm teaching isn't anything I've created. It's not anything that I've, I'm not a guru. I'm still learning every single day, just like you guys. But this is information that's very clear. This is information that I've been able to discharge just about every account that one can name. And so with that being said, and I say this to say not to impress any of you at all, but to impress upon you. If I can do this, if I can get an understanding of these teachings, you yourself can as well. Reach out for extra help. Reach out for mentorship. I always say mentorship is a time machine. If you guys aren't in the position to invest in you guys self for our private community with Billionaires Club, seek out help within YBC University, where within the university, you guys can pay month to month on a month-to-month basis. I know all of you guys have $50 a month for the next 2 months. If not, that's the exact reason why you ought to be in this university, so you can make sure that you have an extra $50 a month every single month going forward. Because within the teachings alone, if you simply apply them, you guys can be getting paid, month in and month out from these accounts that are on your reports, that are on your family's reports, that are on any of your close friends' reports, and you can be the plug to help all of them. And around that, you guys can create a business, not even necessarily off of initially helping these clients, maybe just from simply helping them get paid off the negative accounts, off their reports. And from you guys getting paid, I'm talking, thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, and you guys can split that, and that can be a form of income for you guys within itself by you guys applying yourself. And so, as I mentioned, we've got the AI debt terminator that's attached with the university as well too. That alone is worth more than the $100 itself of the investment of you coming into the university. So plug in. If you guys got any questions, drop down below in the comment section. I believe that we really gave you guys the blueprint as to exactly how to go through step by step. They've made arbitration so simple that I believe, anybody that can read, and is comprehensible can, understand how to file arbitration. Let's see. I want to file online, and the online one is very simple. Dispute details, like it's even got drop downs for this as well. So this is the same thing that form is asking as well. So it's really just a repeat of the form on a digital format. So I challenge you guys, look into that. Y'all can get paid from such. I'm in litigation with Bridgecrest right now. How long can it take before they are ready to negotiate? They have not reached out to me. So Bridgecrest, let's see Bridgecrest right now. So let's come here. Keep asking questions right now, family. We are at an end. So if you guys have any questions, now is your time. So let's come here. Let's see the registration clause. Keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. Ezel Ronnie, appreciate you tuning in, brother. So is it Bridgecrest Acceptance Corporation or Bridgecrest Credit Company? These are related businesses as well to Drive Time, which ultimately Drive Time is a car sale company. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know something, Ezel. We might have some big money for you on your hands, brother. Just remove it from litigation and take it to arbitration. Take it private. Yep, they're the same. Exactly. So, you got to go through then that agreement. Well, let's see what's said in the agreement. Y'all let me know if we got a case. Unless you reject arbitration, this agreement provides that upon you or our election, all disputes between you and us will be resolved by binding arbitration. If you or we elect arbitration, you will be given up your right to go to court to assert or defend your rights under the contract. Your rights will be determined by a neutral arbitrator and not by a judge or jury. You will be waiving your rights to a jury trial. You are entitled to fair hearing, but arbitration procedures are simpler and more limited than the rules that apply in court. You will not have the right to be a member or representative in a class action or private attorney general action in a court or an arbitration. Us or we mean drive time, any purchaser, assignee, or servicer of the contract, all of their parent companies, and all subsidiaries, affiliates, proceeders, and successors, and all our officers, directors, and employees of any foregoing. Us, we are also mean any third party providing any product or service in connection with or incidental to the contract, the sale of the vehicle and or goods or services covered by the contract and or related to the vehicle if such third party is named as a co-defendant. See how they be like, it's all just a bunch of, I mean, the same shit, not even really saying shit. This agreement is part of and hereby incorporated into the contract. However, whenever in this agreement the term contract is used, it does not include this agreement. Um, your means and or here is the personal representative, etc. So this including and includes claim means any claim, dispute, or controversy between you and us arising from or related to one or the more of the following: the contract, the vehicle of the sale of the contract, your financing terms, application, your credit application, the origination and servicing the contract, the collection of amounts you owe us. Well, why did they take you to court then? Any repossession? Well, your personal information. Well, it's been invaded. The recession or termination of the contract. Well, let's do it. So boom, there you go, brother. You got you a case. Let's lock in, brother. Set you up a consultation call. I got my number down below. If anybody is looking to get more insight and see how you guys can personally work with us one on one, 28. Text us at 305 575 2843. Text 305 575 2843. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the comments. I need to fix my life, Shamika. So, fixing your life, well, it's more than just credit with fixing your life. With fixing your life, it all starts with your habits. What are your day to day habits? Well, in order to fix your life, you got to fix your habits because expecting things to change without making change is the highest form of insanity. So, you've got to make change within your personal, day to day, habits, and ultimately what you think about as well too. What we think about, we become. And so alter your, thoughts, change your reality. How could someone come to help and be so confusing on what to do? How could something come to help and be? I'm not sure what you mean. They repossessed me with the court order, no notices, nothing. I was able to halt the sale, unfortunately. Yes, brother. Like I mentioned, you've definitely got a lot of remedy. Yeah, they're the same. So the main thing that I really wanted to stress is to let's go through arbitration, y'all. Filing it's simple. If you've gone through and we've disputed with them, we've got evidence of such. If not, okay, let's go ahead and create some CFPB complaints. Let's get some responses from them. Let's dispute through the CFPB, and see if we can even get it removed through the CFPB before we even have to go through arbitration. We could even mention arbitration in the arbitration clause that we got with them, and we could let them know, that these are the steps that we're looking to take next. This is what I like to call a pre-arbitration letter. All right, so I showed you guys the AI debt terminator and how you guys can use that. You guys can come here to the link that it gives to you for the next steps, and you guys can follow that through there as well. As I mentioned as well, there's the attorney general of whatever state you guys are in that you guys could also file a consumer complaint with as well. And I recommend really just starting with the CFPB. I gave you guys two. I stressed two, I should say, but I gave you guys more because I know that there's overachievers, and then I know that there's people that will just do the two, which is the two will get you by. If you do the CFPB, and if you take them through arbitration, you will get the removal and you will get paid out for such. There's no method to this madness. Nobody's special or better than anybody. It's all about just doing it and continuing to do it and communicating with them and standing firm on what it is that you guys know. Because ultimately, this isn't anything I created. This isn't anything that you guys created. This is all federal law in black and white. And it's all about being able to interpret it and being able to exercise it and communicating with these companies of such. And so, let's see. Any questions? Is there any questions, family? This was an FDIC complaint. This was from an old video on YouTube that I, just made a short on recently. I was approved for a vehicle, but they told me a $2,700 down payment was required. I know that's a no go on consumer credit transaction. 1,000%. What I would request is the finance charge. Request the finance charge and the truth and lending disclosure. There was a finance charge from your credit being ran. Ultimately, what I would do is I never recommend any of you guys going into even the banks and having your credit pulled. You should go to or going to the dealerships and having your credit pulled. Go into your bank or any one of these credit unions or regional banks and apply for an auto loan through there, as that will only give you one inquiry rather than you leaving with 10 to 15 inquiries, from the dealership. So never go to the dealership for such. But I would, schedule a consultation called Love Coco. I believe that there's a lot of synergy that, we can, build upon. I got tons of healers. I got tons of, individuals, that, I'm looking to unite and bring together from all around the world, that have all, different types of, creations and, just healing abilities and medicines and, um, so let's connect. Love Coco Terra. This was a dealership. Yes, I know it was. So let's get the auto loan from a bank and then let's go to the dealership. So know the amount of the vehicle that you're looking to acquire, and if it's a $20,000, or $23,000 car, we'll go get a $25,000 auto loan. So that's what I recommend, and then from there, then you guys can on the back end look to dispute it after you guys have acquired the vehicle. So peace and love, family. Y'all stay blessed. We've been here for an hour. We've got tons of value in here. Watch this replay. If you guys like this video at all, let's get the likes up. Let's go ahead and share. Let's get the likes up as we're here right now. We're going to make sure as we're leaving here to leave with love, and how, you guys can give love is simply by dropping a like or dropping in the comment section anything that you guys learned or was able to take away from today's call. That's the biggest thing for me. If you guys could just take away one thing, that one thing I always say, the power of one. There's a book by Ed Milet. I've heard him speak live as well. He's actually in the real estate space himself, and he's created hundreds of millions in the real estate space, which has also helped him get into the personal development space, which um, you know has been great to see. But he's got a book called The Power of One, and you guys never know that one person, that one connection, that one idea, that one business, that one call you get on, that one thing that you heard and learned and took away from anything can help you guys. So the power of one is so powerful. So I challenge you guys simply, to think about one thing that you guys learned on today's call. Comment it down below. and then share this with 3 people as well too. All right, let's go out and let's share the wealth of information, as my goal is to empower, enrich, and educate a billion lives. I can't do this alone. I need individuals like you to get your people connected with these teachings so y'all can be learning this information as well. Get connected with our community, build with our community. As I mentioned, to Love Coco Trust, I've got healers. I've got people that make music. I've got artists, in terms of healing music, not just, rap music and such, but, drummers and chanters and, individuals that play tons of different instruments that heal ultimately. And so I say this to say, let's unite, let's come together, let's continue to do our part. And your part is simply liking, commenting, and sharing. Many of you guys hear it a lot on these YouTube channels. Like, comment, and subscribe. So let's do y'all part. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And I'll see you guys on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll set a preview so you guys can have that. But as you guys can see, right now we got a routine of 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then 4 on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, where we're going to be doing 2 calls a week here on live time on YouTube, live streaming with you guys live and direct. So I appreciate all of you guys that tuned in. We got a lot of people that did come in and out of this live, and so I appreciate the support, and let's keep building. Peace.